Hello, this is a special production, and we will be having a conversation about theater and about the P3 Theater Company production of A Tuna Christmas at the Second Story Theater in Hermosa Beach.
So why did P3 Theater Company decide to produce A Tuna Christmas?
Oh my goodness, A Tuna Christmas. Why did we pick that show? Let me tell you. I saw a production of a show called Greater Tuna, which was the original play in the Tuna series, and that show had me rolling on the floor laughing. ROFL. And this was probably 15 or more years ago, a professional production in South Florida. And I've been in love with Greater Tuna since I saw that show, never knowing at the time that there were other plays in the series, that were sequels, if you will. And during COVID, we produced a virtual production of Greater Tuna, and at that time I read the script for Tuna Christmas. That's the only other one I've read, and I thought, oh my god, this is just as funny as Greater Tuna. And with the timeline of this particular year coming off of COVID and theaters starting to open, we found ourselves in a position where we had a slate of time around the holiday season to produce a show, and I thought, well, what can we produce? We can't do a big, huge musical because we're still rebounding from the effects of COVID financially. But I thought, oh my gosh, there's this show, Tuna Christmas. Everybody does Christmas Carol, Nuncrackers, Plaid Tidings, Nutcracker. Not that those are bad shows, but everybody does them. You can go on Gold Star or any event website and look up Christmas show, and you'll get a million places to go see those shows. I don't think I've ever known of a theater around where I've lived that has done a production of A Tuna Christmas.
I hadn't heard of it.
So I just thought, and it's a small cast. I should say there are only 2 actors in the show. So as far as salaries, it meets the budgetary needs. That are the budgetary confines at the moment. So I thought, let's do that. So that's kind of between the hilarity of the play and the fact that it fit our needs from a fiscal standpoint. I thought, let's do A Tuna Christmas.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? So when did you hear that we were going to do A Tuna Christmas, and what attracted you to this particular show?
So, funny enough, I remember, I don't remember, I think we were rehearsing for something else, I don't quite remember, but you approached me and said, hey Max, we're going to do A Tuna Christmas. I think you'd be great if we did it together, so let's do it together. And I'm like, that sounds great, I'm going to go watch it, and I'll get back to you. And I watched it, and I'm like, OMG, I have to do this show now. So, yeah, here we are. And I mean, this show is just so funny, and all the characters are so likable, even when they're not supposed to be likable. And I think that's what really drew me in, was the characters.
Yes. Oh, for sure. A little bit of history with Max is that Max was part of our inaugural production of Evita back in the fall of 2019, and you did Evita with us, and then the next thing you did with us wasn't until Funny Bugs.
It wasn't. No, it was all together now. It was right.
Oh,
it was
yes.
Like right after the quarantine's lowest point, and I hadn't heard from you in forever because the last thing we did was Evita, and you texted me and said, hey, we need singers for this. It's not paid, but it's a good theater experience after a long drought. And I said, abso-frickin-lutely, please. And then from there, it just kind of built itself up from there. Yeah.
So Max has sung with us in our Cozy Cabaret series. He's part of our musical sketch comedy show. So we've worked together quite a bit over the last year, and in doing that and seeing Max, that's kind of what inspired me to reach out to you, because I was like, Max isn't just an amazing singer, he is really freaking funny. So I had to reach out to you and ask you, so there you go.
Tell us about the story of Tuna Christmas by Ed Howard, Joe Sears, and Jason Williams.
Let me tell you, this trio of playwrights, Ed Howard, Joe Sears, and Jason Williams, they created this town called Tuna. Tuna, Texas. Tuna, Texas is the 3rd smallest town in the state of Texas. Their local radio station is OKKK, and you have Arles and Thurston, who are the radio announcers for that small station in that small town. And through them, you get you are introduced to a plethora of townsfolk that reside in Tuna, and most of them wreak some sort of havoc or another upon the town.
For sure.
And it is two actors in A Tuna Christmas. Each of those actors plays 11 different characters, ranging from men to women to children to animals. And it is really about the hilarity that ensues in this town. The particular through storyline in this play is that there is a Christmas decorating contest going on, a Christmas yard decorating contest going on. And there are several individuals in that town that want to win this. And then, of course, you have the Christmas Phantom, who likes wreaking havoc upon anything in the holidays. So that's really the premise, is that you've got this small town, a bunch of, you can cut this out if you want to, but I'm going to say a bunch of white trash.
It's not wrong.
A bunch of white trash that basically, yeah. Okay.
We'll
move right along.
Anyways.
Why do you, Max, like the writing in this play and the characters?
So, one of my favorite things about this play is all of the dialogue is very conversational, and it's very natural conversation. And that doesn't sound like it's saying a whole lot, but there are so many musicals and plays where people are talking, and I'm sitting there going, people don't talk like that. People, I don't care what time period it is, or any kind of circumstance. There's a lot of times where that doesn't sound like a human being speaking to another human being. But in this show specifically, it's people with history talking to each other, and all the characters are so memorable and likable. Again, even if they're not supposed to be very likable. And every character has a very distinct characterization to them, and they all have these very specific character traits about them that makes them so alive. And I really like the way that these characters kind of intertwine with each other and mess with each other, and all the hijinks that ensue because of it. And it's interesting to see the way that they wrote it, because it doesn't feel like a very traditional way of writing a play, but I really enjoy the way that they wrote it, especially for two actors. Just adding on top of that, even.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I think it really adds something to it than if it was just 22 different people doing the show. And in that, yeah, they'd feel like even more like different people. But I think part of the challenge, part of the allure of this show is that it is two actors. But why do you like the writing and characters of the Tuna Christmas?
You covered a lot of it, really, but it's so stereotypically redneck. The dialect, the way the words are pieced together, the word selections that are used. I think Max and I have the same favorite line in the show, and I have to quote it, and I'll say it because it's your line, and we don't want to blow the surprise.
No.
But the line is, "Lay off that horn, midget." It's so out there that it's unpredictable. The writing is, you never really know what's going to come out of these characters' mouths.
I never really know what's going to come out of these characters' mouths when I'm in it.
I never know what's going to come out of my mouth when I'm trying to remember the line.
I don't either.
But, well, it's going to come out of my mouth or your mouth?
I don't know.
Either mouth. But it's clever, it's witty, it really pushes the envelope a lot, but it's still clean humor. But it's just hysterical writing when it comes down to it.
So tell us more about the costume changes, all of the costume changes, and the acting challenges that are in this comedy.
So again, there are two actors playing a total of 22 characters, and it's a 2-hour play. So you can imagine there are some costume changes. There are a couple of marathon scenes. There's one where Max is pretty much in the same costume the whole scene, and I'm playing in that same scene 6 different characters. And there are times when I have to run off stage to change into a different character, and he probably has 2 sentences, and I have to come back on in a completely different costume and a completely different character. We're in the rehearsal process, so we're ironing out the logistics of all of that, but it's clearly been done before. There's a lot of rigging of costumes and stuff like that, which, thank goodness for seamstresses and seamsters, that's what you call male seamsters.
I guess, yeah.
People who can sew. and have those ideas of using Velcro or snaps or magnets or underdressing costumes or sewing pieces of costumes together. So instead of putting on 3 costume pieces, you're actually putting on 1, but you've got 3 that are all connected. And then don't even get me started with the boobs.
Oh,
I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet, but so on top of these really quick costume changes, while you're off stage as an actor and having 2 sentences and maybe an action or 2 happening on stage to buy a little time, you're coming on not only dressed as a different person, but you have to be a different person. And that person, you could have been a man, you could have been the sheriff, and you're coming back as an old lady. So you're not only in a wig and dress, but now you have to embrace the character of this old lady. And you don't have any time to flip that switch.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to do it. That's one of the beautiful challenges of this process. And it's hard. But I think really, I don't know about you, Max, but for me, when I change a costume, a lot of times the character comes with the costume. I mean, you've created that character inside and you become familiar with that person. But when you put that costume on, you look down and see what you're wearing, you're like, oh, I'm this. And I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of schizophrenia involved there, but if so, that's very helpful in a show like this. Yeah, so what do you think about all the costume and character changes?
well, I mean, you said pretty much most of it, but the costume changes, like you said, sometimes there's literally a sentence or 2 that the person on stage needs to really stretch so the other person can get changed and figure out what they're doing. And there are some marathon scenes where one of us is on stage as the same character for the whole thing and the other person is running in and out every other few pages, and it's just this marathon of we're in this character, okay, get off stage, you're changing, look down at your costume, all right, here we are, I'm this person, let's go. And I definitely think the acting challenge comes from having to walk on and just, there's no switch, like you said, you just need to be on and you're there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're getting there, but in the rehearsal process, sometimes it's been difficult to flip the switch and go, okay, I was just the sheriff, oh, and now I'm walking on as a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sheriff, 10-year-old boy, oh, I'm on stage, okay, you don't have time to think about that. You just need to be ready and be there. And the costume changes are just, there's a lot of them, so.
And not just the characterization, but the voice that comes along with it. Like, we can come back on from a sheriff to a 10-year-old boy, but even if you're feeling and acting like a 10-year-old boy, you have to make sure you have that voice of that 10-year-old boy that has possibly been in a prior scene. You have to replicate, get back into that voice. And there are a lot of pitch changes and accent changes even. I was gonna put another kudos out there to the writing on this because Jason Williams and Joe Sears, 2 of the 3 playwrights, they played the original 2 actors in this production. So in the process, they were getting to experience the costume changes and the character changes. So their talent as playwrights, they were able to create the in-between the costume changes, like those 2 lines and that bit of business that's going on. It's written that way. So it's not like we're just wasting time on stage. It was written with actual actions that we're doing. Either we're decorating a Christmas tree, or we're changing a record on a record player, or we're cleaning the kitchen or making coffee. So these things are actually written into the script. So it's you know, it's another hats off to the writing on that. And the fact that they were able to experience and create this action. So it's not like we're just making things up to, it's like, oh, John's taking too long to change, so I need to make a cup of coffee now over there. So kudos to that.
Absolutely.
Max, what do you want the audience to get out of a Tuna Christmas?
Well, hopefully to laugh a lot. That's what I'm hoping, crossing my fingers for. But honestly, what I want them to get out of this is how much work was put into this, because it is such a challenge doing 11 characters and 11 costumes and 11 accents. And I mean, even from the behind the scenes aspect of it, there's, 8 different Christmas trees, and we gotta put the table in 8 different places, and I just want people to appreciate that a lot of work was put into this.
Yes, and you know what I want them to get out of it? I want them to meet all these wonderful characters.
Absolutely.
We have Vera, we have Charlene, we have Dixie, we have Aunt Pearl, we have Bertha, we have Stanley, and there are more.
a lot more.
We have Anita and Helen, and Vera. Oh, Vera's here.
Phoebe and Farley.
Phoebe and Farley. Yeah, oh my gosh. So you have all these wonderful characters to meet, all these wonderful townspeople, but truly just to laugh. I mean, my goodness, you're paying however many dollars you're paying to go to the theater. We want you to enjoy yourself. Get away from all the freaking crap in the whole world going on right now. Freaking crap. What?
I don't know.
I'm not from Texas. We took a little break from recording earlier, and we had a rehearsal. So we have lots of accents going on.
Still a little bit of twang in our voices.
But just to have fun, because it's just comedy and laughter. It's good for the soul.
What are you looking forward to when we're performing Tuna Christmas in front of a live audience?
Honestly, going through this rehearsal process with you, Max, is so much fun.
It's so fun. I love this.
We've already been friends. We've worked together a long time. We've known each other for a few years. But just the spontaneity of what happens on that stage, we're finding all these little nuances in our characters that John brings some John into and Max brings Max into, and you make me laugh.
You make me laugh, and it's like constant, and we have to stop all the time because we'll say something funny and then have to have a giggle break and then continue with whatever we were doing.
And we can't have those giggle breaks when those things happen during the show. But you know what? Eyes tell everything. Mm-hmm. And when you're that close to an actor on stage and you know each other as well as we know each other, when that stuff goes down, it's going to be a hoot. So I want for us to have as much fun as the audience has.
Yes, exactly. And I think having the audience there laughing with us is going to just make it so much better. It's going to help so much.
Yes, that live energy is just really, you feed on it. You truly feed on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Why is comedy good for the soul?
Ooh, that's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's a cliche, but laughter really is the best medicine. I think having a good laugh about something can really make you forget about anything. I think just having that space where you can sit down and you just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh for 2 hours straight, I think that's great. I love seeing things that make me laugh. I love making people laugh. So I think comedy is something that's really beneficial to have.
Absolutely. And biologically speaking and physiologically speaking, when you laugh, those neuron transmitters, they do things. They go through your body and they connect to this brain and they create the synapses, and I don't even know what I'm saying. I can tell you though, my therapist says, and I read on Facebook and on Google and on Wikipedia, no, but truly, when you're laughing, there are responses in your body, like there are true physiological responses that when you laugh, you do feel better. They say, from Steel Magnolias, one of my favorite plays and movies, one of my favorite lines is, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. And it's true, because no matter how bad you're feeling, if you laugh at something and you're able to actually laugh, it makes it better.
Yeah.
Not completely better,
well,
but you know what I mean.
Lightens the load.
So it really does. It hits you right here. Right here.
So why should viewers attend a Tuna Christmas at Second Story Theater in Hermosa Beach?
Because if they don't attend, they're crazy.
Exactly.
They just don't want to be happy. They don't want to have a good time. Besides that, the theater needs the patrons to get out there and get your butts into the seats at the theater. But truly, it's just going to be a fun, rip-roaring, hoot-hollering experience.
A hootenanny, if you will.
A hootenanny. What in the heck is the origin of that term?
I have no idea.
But it doesn't matter, because it's just a funny word.
Exactly. It gets the message across.
It does.
It does.
But no, they gotta go see it, because it's fun.
And I feel like it's right before Christmas time is starting up, and I feel like it gets you in the mood. It gets you in the spirit.
Gets you in the holiday spirit.
In the holiday spirit,
absolutely,
as they say.
Yes, sirree, Bob. So, Max, why don't you bring us on home?
I'll bring us on home. I hope you enjoyed our conversation about our theater and the current P3 theater production of A Tuna Christmas at the Second Story Theater in Hermosa Beach. To learn more about P3 Theater Company and the production of Tuna Christmas, Funny Bones, or anything else we're doing, go to our P3 Theater website, and you can learn everything about upcoming events, ticket sales, fundraisers, silent auctions, what have you. Any kind of event we have will be on that website. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you soon in our theater, hopefully for Tuna Christmas. That would be awesome.
1, 2, 3. Go, 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 local Southern California theater! 1, 2, 3. See you in the theater!